Hello everyone and welcome back to EXA Season 9 Division 2. We are here at the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix for the third round of the EXA Season 9 season. The 2.8 mile circuit contains 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, with 2 DRS zones completing the circuit. Having been on the calendar since 1991, the circuit has played host to an F1 race every year since. The circuit has seen the likes of Schumacher, Prost, Hamilton, Vettel, Hakkinen, Alonso and Verstappen all win here, and seen the iconic moments like Rosberg and Hamilton colliding in 2016, which went on to see a young Max Verstappen take his first Formula 1 victory and in his first race for Red Bull. I am your commentator, Jamie Jackson, and I will be taking you through proceedings tonight as we get into today's race. But first off, we've got a few things to talk about. We have a couple results, such as last time out, we saw Nelu Safu take victory ahead of AMS Knight. Bran finished out the podium ahead of Blazer, and then Rio Harris completed the top 5. Raven West finished in 6th ahead of Reese in 7th, Vigo in 8th, Hamilton 9th, and Flores who rounded up the top 10 in points. And with that in mind, we go to the drivers' standings. We see AMS Knight lead the way by a hefty margin in its early point in the season, 19 points over Flores on 27 points himself. 2 points behind that is Nelu Safu, and then Reese Brooks on the same number of points as Nelu. And then behind them is Bran, Ironut, Raven West, Blazer, E Walker, Rio Harris, who rounds out the top 10. But early parts of the season, so anything can happen. We go from the drivers to the constructors now, where we see Sauber leading the way by 19 points as well in the constructors standings. We're ahead of the RB squad, who sit second, 3 points clear of Williams, and who sit a further 4 points clear of Ferrari. It's very close in that midfield fight with Red Bull for completing the top 5 on 28 points. But the second to 7th in that stand in the constructors is separated by 17 points. It is all to play for here today, and with the championships firmly we're starting to get into some traction now, and we are still in the early phases. We will see drivers start to try and pull gaps, close gaps, try and settle themselves into where they will be in the season. But these guys are almightily close. We are in qualifying right now. We had a bit of a delayed start due to invitations, and it's taken a bit longer. So we're about halfway through the qualifying session right now. We see Raven West lead the way ahead of V10 Leo and Nelu Safu, the 2 Ferrari drivers, doing very well ahead to be together as well. They always seem to be very close on qualifying pace. Bran in 4th, Adam 5th, Sausage Joe 6th, E. Walker in 7th, Blazer in 8th, Crossfire Fire Strikes in 9th, and Rio Harris rounding out that top 10 in the qualifying grid at the moment. 14 drivers set laps, 5 drivers without a lap so far. We've got 2 Adams here though, so that's going to be interesting. That's going to be fun, isn't it? So we're going to see Epic OJ going to go to the top of the time sheets with an 11.7. Is a good time from the Red Bull, but can anyone top that? We've got Adam in the RB looking to go for a lap, I do believe. I'm not sure if he was on a lap previously. Let's just have a look at all these timings. We've got, yeah, he should be on some sort of low. He is harvesting, so never mind. He might have used up his battery, so he is currently P3 at the moment. Yeah, he did actually go for a lap. Ignore me. But we're going to continue on now. We're going to see who can take the best time in this session. Qualifying more than Bahrain matters here as we go through the opening phases. We're going to see Archer go in Haas go through the lap. We'll stay on with him. He's going through turn 3 now, down towards turn 4. And Haas looking to make the improvements necessary. He's down in sector 1. However, he's lost a big chunk of time in one of the other 2 sectors. So we'll see where he can gain that back and potentially put himself into the grid. So one of the drivers who have not set a fully competitive lap time. We're going to go through the left and the right up the hill now towards turn 9. Almost flat. It should be flat out here in qualifying sim. Maybe a lift off in the race. We'll see if that makes a difference to the drivers. V10 Leo goes fastest of 11.7. 300s clear of Epic OJ as the drivers start to go faster and faster as the track begins to grip up. We are now going to go through the final couple of corners as Archer it's going to go through the final corner. And to complete his flying lap, he's much faster than last time. He'll go to 11.9, puts himself P7 as the Haas looks to try and get maintain his top 10 position for the rest of the session. We've now got a couple more drivers who are currently on laps. Why so slow in the Williams? Going through sector 2 at this time, currently without a lap set, which is the crucial thing here. You cannot you need to kind of get a banker. It's a very flowy circuit, so you need to be on it constantly, and it's a very difficult circuit to nail a lap in. Well, a full lap in. We're going to go down towards the end of sector 2, 51.2 in the first 2 sectors combined. Fastest sector 2 according to the time track map. We're going to go round the final sector now, but the question is who has saved their tyres for sector 3 and who's used it in sector 1 and 2, because that is going to be the crucial point here. You cannot go all out pushing sector 1 and have the same grip in sector 3. This is a very difficult track to get right. Why so slow? 12.7 goes a bit ahead of JB, but P14 for the Williams at this moment in time. Raven West currently down this time by 7 tenths in the opening sector, maybe looking to try and get another lap in. Rio Harris is coming into the pits, so we will go to not him, we'll try and find someone who's actually on a lap. I guess no one is on a lap, so we'll go back to Raven West, who will be maybe looking to come into the pits, or he'll go for flying a run with just under 5 minutes to go in the session. Can Aston Martin get himself back into the top spot after losing it only minutes earlier? We have now seen Aston Martin go into the pit lane, and a couple drivers are now looking to try and get into that top 10. This is one of them is Crossfire Strikes. Short qualifying, remember, so we don't have to wait around for the later part. If you get eliminated, you will not have to wait around if you're in the bottom half of the grid. So we'll see if that makes a difference. P8 for Crossfire Strikes, 12 dead exactly. We got it's puts in P8, about half tenth behind Adam and Archer. But is that going to be enough? As well as Rio and Nello, they're all very close. 1/10 separating 5 drivers. That is how close we're looking at, with the top end of the field looking to be slightly quicker. My question is where is Knight? Is he here or is he not? I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm thinking it's Mercedes is P19. Sorry. Right, where is so Knight is going to go through the first sector. We'll stay on board with Sauber as we go through the next couple of sectors. Why is my camera button not working? That'd be nice. No, we're not gonna work today. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go through sector 2 now and down towards sector 3. So up the hill we will go through turn 7 and 8 into turn 9 and down towards turn 10 with and the most slow speed part of the circuit. We'll go into the hairpin now. 50.2 in the first 2 sectors combined. Fastest in sector 2. Is that going to remain fastest overall? He's got to have his teammate on the outside line and try not to cause a mystery machine collision, but we will continue on. No impeding or anything. Maybe looking to help his teammate Blazer out down this long straight. 11.5 for AMS Knight, puts himself fastest in the session. Looks to be the most complete when it comes to a single lap pace with just 2 minutes and 22 seconds to go. Everyone will start filing out the pits. It's just whether Knight's time will last long enough, because he will not have enough time to go and get a new set of tyres. With everyone filing out the pits now, we'll see who can take pole position. Everyone trying to leave it to the last minute to try and get the best possible track conditions, but who can take pole? Can Knight stay on top? Can Leo take it? Can Epic OJ take it? Can Raven West or Nello or anyone else in this 19 car field? We will have to wait and see. We are now going to go through sector 3 and up towards the final 2 corners, flat out through the penultimate if you dare, flat out through the final, maybe a lift. It depends on what your driving style consists of and what your setup decides. P12 for Blazer with a 1 minute 12.1. And that was only slightly quicker than before. He's going to have a tough time of things because everyone else behind will be aiming to improve. We're now going to go through the next, the final parts of qualifying. AMS Knight has retired in the pit lane. We're going to see Rio Harris. He will be one of the drivers who'll cross the line first. He's currently in P6 now. Going to go round the final corner, down towards the final corner. Cam, the Alpine, get himself into the top end spots. P4 11.8, 1/10 quicker than what he'd done before. Is that going to be enough to keep it there though? We're going to see a number of drivers though fly over the start finish line to start flying laps. We've got Heated currently on a lap. We've got a couple more drivers all flying through the rest of the sector 1. We're going to see who is going to come out on top. Our next driver who will cross the line will be not Raven West. It will be the Sauber Blazer. So it will be the next McLaren. So it will be YT Alpha Heated, who will be the first driver in this final group to set a time. They're not going to get any more times. This is everyone's final lap as we go. And towards the line, does YT Heated go faster? He does not. He's 1 minute 14.5. That does not improve for the McLaren driver. Next up is V10, not V10, Nelu Safu, who won out last time, got P2 this time in qualifying, just behind AMS Knight, but 11.6. Is that going to be enough to keep the position? Next up is Epic OJ, who will come up to the line just over a 10th and a half quicker, goes P2 himself, goes a 10th quicker, almost beats Knight's time, but goes faster than V10 there and Nelu Safu, who both crossed the line as the Ferraris will lock out the second row of the grid at this point. But here comes Bran, who's coming around the final couple of corners now. Is he going to make the improvements? No, he's not. He's down on his time. He is done. Archer goes to P5. Couple drivers left to cross the line, including Adam, who's in the RB. Goes up to P7, 11.8, just behind the Williams and ahead of Rio Harris in the Alpine. And that looks to be the session well and truly over and done with. Yet no one else is on a lap unless YT Heated is on a Alpha Heated on a lap. Heated in the McLaren. Can he get improvements needed to go to the top? He does improve, but doesn't improve his position. And that is session over. AMS Knight once again takes pole position. It could be a wet race from start to finish, is what I'm hearing now. So we'll see whether that could make the difference. I've only just got live chat up, so I do apologise. Thank you, Rolly, for giving me that information. So that is going to be an interesting one. So dry qualifying, potentially full wet race for the whole race. We'll see whether that has any effect. We're going to just give everyone a couple moments. We're now going to go AMS Knight to the top. He goes fastest by 300 a second ahead of Epic OJ. V10 Leo only a little bit behind that. The top three covered by less than a tenth. And then we've got Nelu Safu in P4, P5 Archer, Bran 6th, Adam 7th, Rio Harris P8, Raven West Knight and Crossfire Strikes run out the top 10 positions. And then we've got an exciting race to go through next. 33 laps it is, I believe, and this is going to be a good one. We're going to see whether the yeah, it is raining. It is raining heavily, ladies and gentlemen, so we are going to have an exciting wet race. Who goes for what, inters or full wets though? That is the £64,000 question. People in 12 could be using inter/wet setups. Very much it could be. We could find that as a factor, but who has got it right is the question. If you've gone further down the order, yes, it is going to benefit you in the throughout a race if you're on into some wet setup. But if you're further down the order, at a track where it's so difficult to overtake anyway, is it going to be the most beneficial? We'll see whether that happens throughout the race. I'm going to give it a couple of moments, and we're going to see. If whoever's here, how long do you, I don't know how long I'll leave it, so, and if I have to say anything, if Rolly, if you're here, if you can do it for a couple of minutes, if you can just tell anyone when to go. No, I mean, I'm not sure when to do it. I'm not sure of the timings for this. Oh, we never go. We are going anyway. Formation up time. That's fine. I didn't know what the rulings are here and whether we go on waiting or not. So that's fine. So, Knight will lead the way. Epic OJ in second, V10 Leo third, Nelu Safu in fourth, Archer fifth, Brand sixth, Adam 7th, and Rio Harris 8th. Raven West 9th, Crossfire Strikes in 10th, Sausage Joe in 11th, E Walker in 12th, Blazer 13th, Million Sky in 14th, Million Ski, sorry, in 14th, Alpha Heated in 15th, Whiteo Slow in 16th, JB 395 in 17th, with Bard Tsunami and WL 9317 rounding out the grid. It is going to be an interesting race, but who has decided to go for the right setup? Have they gone for inters and wets? Have they got the guys up front gone for dry setups? Or have they all gone for wet setups? We don't know. We've got a long race to figure this one out. And a circuit that will, in the wet, for probably quite exciting action. So, with that in mind, I also have something to note as well with this, with the formation lap. There's been a rule change over the week since we last were here. We see now that drivers who get themselves or others disqualified or use AI in the formation lap can get penalties ranging from 5 seconds to up to a race ban on a case-by-case basis. The severity of the penalty is up to the FIA. That is a quite considerable change, and we'll see whether that makes a difference to anyone's plans and who can heat up the tyres properly in a session like this. Another note that I didn't make note of earlier is the drivers who cut corners in order to considerably lower their lap times in in-laps or out-laps in qualifying will see penalties ranging from penalty points, qualifying bans, depending on the severity of their actions. So we'll see whether that makes any form of difference here tonight. But we are going to go racing with a couple new rules implemented, and we'll see whether we who can take victory, who's got their tyres warmed up on these intermediate conditions. We're going to go 4, 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. It's got a very, very slow start from all the drivers. However, we're going to go down towards turn 1. Knight got a better start than what he did in Bahrain. Manages to maintain his lead, but Epic OJ is going to try and challenge him to turn 1. Almost contact between the two front runners, but they managed to get through cleanly. The Ferraris are still going side by side through turn 2 and managed to sort themselves out through turn 3. There's more fighting further back between Rio Harris and Crossfire Strikes. They're side by side through all the way through turn 3. These guys have got to be careful though, because if they don't make any sort of contact, it could end in catastrophe. Rio Harris drops down to 8th. Crossfire Strikes up to 7th in that predicament. But here comes V10 Leo diving up the inside into turn 5 as the Ferrari makes his way by Epic OJ in the Red Bull as they try and scramble to get their first shot at AMS Knight, who leads the way off the start. We're going to go through turn 10 now. Turn 9, sorry. As we go down towards turn 10, can the V10 Leo catch and overtake the man who's sat on pole for at least the last 2 races? I'm not sure if he did in race 1, but he's done so far. We're going to go through the rest of sector 3 now. A bit of sliding there from AMS Knight, getting a bit of the back end out. He's not looking the most comfortable on the rear end. He got a bit wide on the penultimate corner, didn't quite get the apex he wanted, allowing Leo to gain a little bit more. Drivers are getting their back end a little bit out. They're all trying to maintain grip, but in this early phases of the race where the track is soaking wet, it is very, very difficult. In these conditions, we're going to go through turn 1. It remains line astern at the front of the field, but everyone remains to have kept it nice and calm throughout the field in this opening lap. But Knight is under significant pressure. Apparently, the Ferraris said it's way too wet for inters. Well, unfortunately, and we can actually see that they've gone for inters anyway. We've got half and half the field on each. We've got the top 4 on inters, followed by 3 on wets. 2 more Rio Harris and Milianski in inters, as well as Walker and what Alpha Heated, the rest are on wet compound of tyres. So we're going to see whether these drivers can manage who has made the right call and who is going to burn up their tyres and who can keep it on the road. We are now, it looks like it is pretty even at this moment between the cars in terms of what tyre it is on. It is more about what is going to be right later on in the race. We are now going through sector 3 as we now see the AMS Knight, V10 Leo, Epic OJ, Nelu Safu lead the way on the Inters. Archer, Bran, Crossfire Strikes, all on the wets. They're all remaining quite close to each other, but the gaps only 2 laps in are starting to form a little bit by little bit, inch by inch, corner by corner. We'll see whether that makes any form of difference later in the race. We're going to see fast lap from Nelu Safu, but at the moment that tyre distinguishment between the drivers is quite an interesting one. We didn't get to see that at all last game because everyone just went Inters. Inters are quicker even in full wet. We'll see. Considering that the drivers who are on full wets are doing decent enough to keep up with the Inters, we'll see. But I do believe that is kind of the case. It just depends whether the wets or Inters burn out first. We'll see whether the AMS Knight can maintain his lead. He's gaining a little bit by little bit over V10 Leo. 8.5 tenths is now the gap. It was smaller previously. We're going to see Bran go for a move on Archer. The 2 full wet drivers going to go at it into turn 10. The Haas up the inside of Bran. Can he make the move stick? He does for now. And at the moment, Bran has to sit back behind the Haas driver, but has got Crossfire Strikes right all over the back of him at the moment. As we now go through the penultimate corner and through the final corner, we're starting to see a gap between the Inters and the full wets come up, and that may be the crucial point as the Inter drivers begin to go faster and faster. Have the drivers on full wets made the wrong call entirely? At this stage, it looks like it is beginning to, but to be fair, they are pulling gap from the cars behind on those full wets, and there is a gap. But the Inter driver of Rio Harris is right on their back of that queue. So we're going to see whether that makes the difference here. Bit wide there from Archer as he goes into turn 3. He does not have quite the stable rear end of Bran, but is he going to keep the pace up? We're going to see Rio Harris look to the inside. Is that going to be a move from the Alpine, who's all over the back of the Mercedes across 5 strikes? As we go into turn 5, not quite at this stage. We are now going to go down towards turn 6, or through turn 6 and now into turn 7. The Alpine is right over the back of the Mercedes, who's getting a bit out of shape there through turn 8 into turn 9 now, and down towards turn 10. The Alpine could look to make a move in towards this final sector. He looks to the inside. He dives up the inside. Is that going to be a move to stick? The Mercedes gives him room. The Alpine tries to go down the inside. It'll turn to the outside for turn 12, but he can't quite do it. Will he get the cutback though? Will he get the run? He tries to go for the cutback into the penultimate corner. They're going to go side by side through the penultimate corner. It's a rarity. You see that this day. Milinsky gets the 3-second time penalty. Cutback from Crossfire. Crossfire on an absolute worldie of a run through the second phase of that corner, getting the switchback of dreams just like Rio did in that first move. He's now going to go side by side once more into turn 1. Goes Rio. Can Rio take the position? He does. Rio moves up to P7. Crossfire moves down to P8. Excellent racing from the 2. Completely clean, and these 2 have, unfortunately for them, lost a heck of a load of time to the guys in front, and that is while a fantastic bit of racing, not what you want to be seeing by the end of it for both drivers. They both wanted to keep the position, but both wanted the position. Rio's ended up with it. Crossfire is now falling into the clutches of the driver with the first time penalty of the race, Milinsky, as that 3-second becomes a big factor, especially this early on into a race. The lead out front, however, has grown to 1.5 seconds over V10 Leo, as we see the Ferrari and the 2 Ferraris and the Red Bull just drop a bit further behind now from the Sauber, and the championship leader looks to try and extend his points lead after losing out on a race win last time out to Nelu Safu. He'll be certainly making sure that is not made, that mistake is not made again. 127.8 for the Sauber. He could well and truly put himself in a very, very strong period for the rest of the season, depending on the evaluation period. What happens after this evaluation period? This is the last race of the 3. We'll see whether Knight does stay in tier 2 or whether he gets moved up. We'll see what happens. V10 Leo, Epic OJ, Nelu Safi are our top 4, as we see Archer and Bran continuing their fight over P5. We're going to see actually a battle between Sausage Joe and Raven West, as Raven West about to lose another position as E Walker has moved up to P11, but they're going to still go side by side. The Alpine completes the move as Raven West has dropped not 1 but 2 positions at this stage. The Aston is absolutely struggling right now. Bear in mind he's on the full wet to couple of these, but E Walker is on the inters. Sausage Joe though was on the full wet as well. Maybe we're seeing the inters start to come more and more into play now, because further down the field, because they are starting to make inroads and to make it up the field. We're going to see a move to the inside. But why so slow? He's going to make the move on Raven West. Raven West makes the cutback, both on the full wets. Bit of contact there as they both continue to lose time. That has allowed Adam to go right through for the position. As but actually, why so slow? Just about got that back, but Adam is all over the back of these guys now, followed by Blazer 44. That's why I don't know why I said Adam twice, but Blazer 44 is up here as well. We're going to see whether Adam can maintain this position over the Kick Sauber, who has his great teammate leading the race at this time, but can't really do anything at this moment. Tries to go for a dive up the inside, tries to get by Adam, but Adam just about managed to defend it. Cut back for the Sauber, trying to get the best run, trying to put the RB off the line, but the Mystery Machine just cannot quite do it. As we now go through turn 4, and at the moment Blazer just has to wait another little bit longer just to make that one work. We're going to continue on as we see E Walker go for a move up the inside, around the outside of Sausage Joe, but Joe just about managing to defend that. E Walker looks to have the line to go around the outside of turn 7 into turn 8 as we go up the hill. Has he got the move done by turn 9? Yes, he does. Those intermediates are starting to fire up at this stage, but at the moment the Alpine is looking to have to get through a number of cars to even think about getting to the rest of his intermediate companions. We now see battle brewing between Archer and Bran as they continue on through their fight. Crossfire strikes as has a big loss of back end from Archer, but Bran is not quite close enough to make amends. Crossfire strikes though is looking to try and defend from Miliansky, as at the moment Aston Martin, with that the only 3-second time penalty of the race, is looking to try and get past the Mercedes and build that gap, but unfortunately it is very difficult to do in such a closely knit division. We're going to now actually see E Walker go on the attack on Miliansky. He looked to the outside, cut to the inside, but E Walker looks to go for another move. He's putting on a clinic, ladies and gentlemen. He's made his way by with another excellent move into P9. That is a very good job by the Alpine, as we continue. He continues to set his sights on the next victim in his to-do list. As now he is setting his sights on that Mercedes, who is also on the full wet tyres, and before having to go after his teammate of Rio Harris, who is a couple seconds behind the top, the P5 and P6. E Walker though is looking to get this move done quickly. We're going to go to the inside. He tries to look. He can't quite make it work. He goes to the inside now off turn 12. He can't quite get the run. He gets his nose in there just enough as the Mercedes tries to get some form of grip. But is that too little too late? That is too little too late for the Mercedes, as E Walker moves up to P8. And now that is a very good drive through a couple of positions for the Alpine driver, 4 positions up from his starting grid, but I'm sure he's made a few more than that in the last couple laps. As drivers begin to fall down the field, Raven West sorry, not Raven West, WL is coming into the pits. Wonder if he has decided he's going to make the switch to the Inters now and try and get a fairly large undercut on the full wet runners. We've now got we are now heading towards the we're still in the first third of the race, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got a lot of racing to go. 6 seconds is actually for Milianski at this stage. At this stage in a race, to have 6 seconds worth of time penalties compared to everyone else with none, that is going to be a significant, almost race ruining at that pace, because you're going to end up with a heck of a load of penalties by race's end. Let me see whether he can do anything. Meanwhile, AMS Knight is actually starting to come under a little bit more pressure now from V10 Leo, as actually Milianski goes for a move. Oh, Crossfire strikes, goes up the inside and tries to make the move stick. He does so. He finally gets past the full wet runner, as the intermediate runner, with that 6 seconds worth of time penalties, is trying to get away. But meanwhile, Sausage Joe is trying to get a move done on Crossfire Strikes, who now has gained a 3-second time penalty himself. That is not what we're going to be seeing if the Mercedes, who's continuously falling down the field. And bearing in mind, this is the best you're going to be able to do, as because the intermediate runners are coming through thick and fast. Running wide there goes Milianski. Will that cost him the position to Crossfire Strikes as he gets the better run through turn 3? No, he doesn't. The back end goes out on him a little bit. He goes a bit wide, gets a bit of back end loss on the curb, and that almost ended in catastrophe for the Mercedes if he did not catch that slide. And that is why it is very difficult out here. Crossfire Strikes, his back end is not very happy under braking either, and that Mercedes is starting to have some legitimate issues now, trying to go onto the wet parts of the circuit to cool down the tyres. But at this stage, you've pushed the tyres well too hard, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to get a new batch of tyres, because those tyres are not going to get any better, easier to drive anytime soon. Meanwhile, back to the well, actually we'll stick on with this, because here comes Sausage Joe, who looks to try and get a move done, but he can't quite do it. He's also on the full wets as well, so even though the performance disparity won't be in the tyres, like what tyres you run, they will be in the disparity of how you've driven them. We are now going to go down towards the final corner. Can Crossfire get defend, or will Sausage Joe finally get by? That back end is certainly twitching more. That is basically looks like that car should be in Tokyo Drift more than in an F1 race at this stage, but Sausage Joe unable to do anything at this time. We're going to go back to the battle of the race lead, because AMS Knight, V10 Leo have certainly been closer and closer to each other over the last couple of laps. V10 Leo has started to push AMS Knight further and further to his limits. Knight looked to have this race quite happily sealed a couple laps ago, but V10 Leo has started to catch him once more, potentially. Knight has used up too much of his tyres, has burnt up his tyres that little bit too much, but is that going to be enough for Leo to make the move? We've got about a third of the race done at the end of this lap. Leo will have 2/3 of the race left to do it, but there will be a pit stop in between at some point for these intermediate runners, I do believe, if you really want to keep the tyre, if you really want to have the ultimate fastest car. But Leo at this stage is hounding Knight. Yes, Knight has pushed those tyres that little bit further to gain that extra 10th or 2, but Leo over the course of a lap is just that much quicker. We are now going to go into turn 1 and 2, and Leo just looks to put Knight under that bit more pressure. That back end of Knight not looking the most impressed by at this stage of the stint, and the Mystery Machine, who look to have it very much under control, does not to look to have that control anymore. The man who sat on pole the last couple of races and who won the opening round does not look the happiest at this stage, despite having initial pace advantage. Raven West goes for the fastest lap. He's on the intermediates now, but he's in P16. He's got a long way to go in this race if he wishes to take those tyres to the end. but he's significantly catching the pack in front of him. As at this stage, their full wet tyres are going to be coming further and further away from optimised pace. So we're going to go through the final couple of corners now, and Leo is still close to Knight, but he's still not able to get close enough. He's maybe hoping Knight's tyres will start to die off that little bit more, but he can't quite get close enough to do anything about him. Epic OJ has dealt with Nelu Safu behind him for the majority of this whole race so far, and that 6-tenth gap has remained pretty stagnant at this stage. The Ferrari unable to get by and help his team and catch his teammate and help his teammate against a Knight. And well, the championship, while in its early doors, the championship leader leads the way, trying to extend his gap, and he can't quite do so. We're on lap 13 of 33 for the Spanish Grand Prix for round 3 of the Division 2 season. If you've only just joined us for this race, please, it's going to get an exciting one, because it's going to be about the tyres, work and strategy, and whether you can maintain them in the optimum window, or if you've pushed them too early, try and defend for your life. We've got Knight leading the V10 Leo, Epic OJ and Nelu Safu a couple seconds behind them. But if anything happens between these top two, those two will be ready to pounce. Someone who is also ready to pounce is Bran on Archer. Archer goes very wide with that back end. Looks to just about save it, but Bran is all over the back of him. Who else is all over the back of someone else? E. Walker on the back of his teammate for P7. Around the outside goes E. Walker. He makes the move stick. He's been absolutely on fire in these last few laps. But he's now got by Rio Harris, is 3.8 seconds behind a top 5 position at this stage. E. Walker on fire has managed to keep those tyres in check and is now putting them through their paces. But that back end is starting to look a little bit more unhappy, like the rest of the field, as they all pull to put get some water onto those tyres, get some precipitation through those intermediates. At the moment is very difficult out there, because that dry line is not going to be helping them, as at the moment their back ends are certainly squirreling, as we see from E. Walker as we go through turn 3. We're going to see Bran have to go for a move on Archer, as Archer tries to get by both on the full wet tyres, doing an excellent job so far to keep a gap to the intermediate dryness behind Rio Harris with a 3-second time penalty. But whether Archer can manage to get by, we'll see. Well, I managed to defend, or whether Bran can get by, we will see. Bran looks to try and get by that back end once more, playing up for Archer. Bran is going to look to the right, look to the left. He's going to try and break late, but he can't quite do it. It's a bit of a bump there from the Williams. Pushes the Haas a bit further forward, but no significant damage or consequence for either driver. As we go now through sector 3, Bran clearly has the pace, but can he do enough to get by? These guys are going to continue fighting, as never mind Archer decided it's time to come into the pit lane. That is an interesting choice. Meanwhile, here comes Leo. He's going to try and make a move on AMS Knight anytime soon. He's closed that gap by a couple more laps. As we at the moment we're going to go through the next couple of corners, as Leo looks to try and attack Knight. So we're going to go down towards turn 8 and turn 7 and then turn 8 up the hill. Now Leo is closing in on the Sauber, but the Sauber cannot get away from Leo anymore. He did pull a couple second gap, but Knight has now lost any sort of gap, any sort of disparity towards the Scuderia, as the prancing horse looks to claim victory here today and make it 3 winners in 3 races. JB395 has retired in the pit lane. As we go through the final sector now, who will blink first? Who will come into the pits? Speaking of pits, we've had a couple drivers come into the pits. four have all come into bits, plus Raven West and Archer, who has done so as well. Raven West has managed to gain back what he had lost in the early phases, and now is 3.5 seconds ahead of the man who was in P5, but he is on significantly older tyres, 8-lap-old inters for Raven West, but his tyres he has already done a stop. He's going to have a long race on those intermediates if he goes to the end for them. Meanwhile, AMS Knight, V10 Leo, Epic, OJ and Nelu Safu, 15-lap-old inters, Bran on 15-lap-old wets, followed by a few more drivers like Ewalker, Rio House and Millionsky on the intermediates as well. Another driver of Sausage Joe into the pit lane. It's about when you pit, because at the moment we go through turn 9 and up towards turn 10 for the 16th time. Fastest lap of the race has been set by the Bard Tsunami as the McLaren down in P17, showing pace, but at this stage it is starting to show more that the tyres are going towards the inters. Only 3 drivers left out there on wets now. That's Adam, Blazer and Bran. The rest are now on the inters. Whether they started on it or have switched over to it, that is to be seen. As we see Epic OJ come into the pit lane, Nelu Safu will move up to P3, getting a bit of clean air, maybe looking to go for an overcut. Epic OJ looking to go for an undercut and use the fresh set of inters to try and catch the top 2 positions. Time penalty wise, we've got 3 seconds for Rio, Crossfire and WL, 6 seconds for Millionsky. We're going to see E Walker go by Epic OJ and Brand, who both are in the pit lane, move up to P4 for the time being, as we now go through the rest of the race. We're now into the second half, well, almost into the second half of the right. Well, we're actually in the second half of the race now as we go through turn 3 for E Walker, but in sector 2 is AMS Knight and Leo, as can V10 Leo get anything by. Crossfire Strikes has retired in the pit lane. That's double Mercedes retirement, and that is not what you're going to be seeing if you are the Silver Arrows, who have not had quite the season they would have been wanting in the first 2 races, even now the first 3. And they will be looking to try and get back at these guys. Raven West has got by AMS, not AMS, behind ahead of AMS Knight's teammate Blazer, and gone up to P8. The Aston Martin, who's on a number of lap older inters, is now, well, actually not. He's Blazer's on 16 lap old wets, so he's looking to try and come back later on in the race with a newer set of of intermediates, and I hope that tyre offset significantly benefits him. But Raven West on those inters have been on for about 9 or 10 laps now. Is not going to be looking the most comfortable in a few laps time. Another 3-second time penalty for Millionsky, moves himself up to 9. Nelu Safu comes into the pit. E Walker into P3, and we'll see whether Nelu Safu can remain in P5, and he does by but he's 1.1 seconds now behind Epic OJ. As the 2 will be looking to undercut the 2 race leaders as we go back to the battle for P10. Bran looks up the inside, he makes the move on YT Alpha Heated, as Alpha Heated just cannot keep that position, but Bran up to the points paying positions. That is because though he's down that far due to other drivers ahead having not quite pitted at this stage. We're on lap 18 of 33. We'll soon see some more drivers coming in. We're going to go back. We're going to go to Archer, who is now in a battle for P8 with Blazer 44, who is yet to pit. Archer has got a 4-second lead over his rival Brad, who he's been fighting for a couple laps now. Was fighting for the whole race earlier on, but now has had a couple laps of clean air. Can he go for the move on Blazer up the inside into turn 10? Can he make the move? Sick Blazer tries to cut him close to the inside, but it doesn't stop the momentum of the Haas as Archer up to P8, Blazer down to P9. Meanwhile, V10 Leo has entered the pits for a new set of tyres, looking to undercut AMS Knight and try and get ahead of the Sauber. But if Knight pits next lap, is that 1 second undercut going to be enough? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to see now Archer go down and try and catch a 2.8 second gap to Raven West. We've got a couple drivers still yet to pit, including AMS Knight, E Walker, Rio Harris, Blazer, YT and YT Alpha Heated. The rest have made their pit stops, but the tyre deficits and tyre changes have now caused a lot of different offsets between each of the various drivers. We're now going to go back to the race lead. We're going to see AMS Knight, see if he can try, if he decides to stay out another lap, or if he comes into the pits for a new set of intermediates. He does come into the pits, so it's going to be whether V10 Leo can try and get into the race lead via an undercut, or whether Knight can hold on to it. We're going to go into the pit lane. Of course, it'll be intermediate tyres on. But is it going to be the right? Is it going to be the right call to stay out that extra lap longer, get the extra tyre offset? Yes, it's only a lap, but that lap is always crucial. We're going to go and leave the pit lane now. It is going to be tight between the Ferrari, between the Mystery Machine. Can the Sauber get his way by for keep his way into P1? He does so by enough of a margin, by nearly 7-8 tenths of a gap, but he's got to get his tyres into check. Leo has already done so. Can Leo try and get by in these next couple of corners and just about make it by before Knight can fully get up to speed? And unfortunately, the Ferrari just has to sit behind just that little bit longer. We go through turn 4 and into turn 5. Could there be a move from Leo? Not quite into the left-hander, but Knight is now stayed ahead and will have that extra lap of tyre offset, which will mean he'll be able to push that one lap longer. But Leo is right on the back of him now. We're going to go through up to turn 9, down towards turn 10 next. Bit of curb, bit more curb taken by Knight, but can Leo take the position? No, he can't. He sits behind, and at the moment Knight looks to just about cover this off, but we're gonna have a long main straight next. Leo is right up the gearbox of the Sauber. Can Prancing Horse get by for P1? Leo looking to try and make that move, but Knight will be not looking to let another win slip away to a Scooter rear. We're going to be on to lap 21 now. Slipstream from Leo is no DRS in the wet, so that is going to ultimately hamper Leo in his quest to try and get by. He didn't really gain either, and that has ultimately left Knight with the race lead at this time. Meanwhile, E Walker is going to have to defend from Epic OJ. He's going to push him wide. He's going to push him off circuit into turn 2. That's going to ultimately leave him with an illegal overtake on the Alpine. He gives the position back to the Alpine, but Nelu Safu is going to look to try and get by as well. Epic OJ trying to make a move on E Walker, who has not quite stopped yet. He's probably trying to get a big tyre offset, but at this stage he is really holding up. Epic OJ, we are getting awful camera angles from this, so we're now going to see whether Epic OJ can try and make a move into turn 6, and here comes Nelu Safu up the inside of Epic OJ, and he does so into turn 7, makes the move stick. OJ's going to come back at him. It's going to free wide into the turn 9, and there's been contact as Nelu Safu gets turned round, and Nelu Safu just about survives that with only a half spin with contact, including both the Alpine and the Red Bull. It has gone completely pear-shaped for the trio, but they managed to all keep just about their positions, their front wings, but maybe locked off a little bit of pride. But here we go. We go through the penultimate corner into the final corner. Epic OJ will now be behind Nelu Safu as the Ferrari, who won last time out, will be looking to get by. E Walker down the straight, 4-tenth gap between the Ferrari and the Alpine, 3-tenth gap between Epic OJ and Nelu Safu. At the moment, Nelu unable to do anything, but he's going to have to try and get the move done in the corners where the Alpine has struggled due to that tyre deficit. We are now going to go into turn 3, down towards turn 4. Can Nelu get anything by? We once more have the worst camera angle in the world. We're going to go back to Epic OJ, and now can the Ferrari, can the Red Bull try and make moves to try and get by the Alpine while also fighting each other for position? The Alpine is certainly causing a little bit of a train, including the Ferrari and the Red Bull, but the Alpine is going to continue to hold his position. He has every right to do so. He is not a lap down. He is on track, fighting these guys for position. Epic OJ up the inside in an attempt to make a move on Nello Safu. He doesn't quite manage to do so, but Nello Safu goes wide. That's going to allow the Red Bull a little bit of a better run. The Ferrari is completely offline here as we go through turn 12, and then we go down towards turn 13. As the Red Bull looks to try and make the position, but cannot do so. The Ferrari of Nello Safu manages to defend it at this stage, and we now going to go down towards turn 1. The Alpine has the Red Ferrari in his slipstream. The Ferrari has the Red Bull in his slipstream. As the Nello Safu to the outside to try and make a move, puts the Alpine offline. This will give the Ferrari the opportunity to put the Alpine into a predicament that will allow for the overtake. We're going to go through turn 3 and up to turn 4. Can the Ferrari make a move? He has a quick little move before the braking point, but decides to stick behind and hope that he can take the most optimised line through turn 4, down towards turn 5. Walker just about has this covered up. Up the inside goes the Red Bull. Contact a bit of mid-corner, a bit of wheel banging, but it's all fair again at this stage. Going to go down towards turn 7 as the Red Bull looks to get the move done. A bit wide there from Nello Safu, and that has ultimately cost him the position and a handful after that, and that has gave Epic OJ P4, Nello Safu down to P5, but this has given him a wide opportunity, the Red Bull, to try and get by Walker, who has in this whole time sat ahead of drivers who are on significantly newer tyres. And this is ultimately helping Archer, who is in the Haas, now is 1.3 seconds behind the two in front of him. He was on the wet tyres at the start of this race. He didn't quite have the pace to keep up these two. He is now on the intermediates. He has an opportunity to try and get a podium place. Walker is now going to go to the inside to defend as we go into turn 1, but the Red Bull is going to use his ERS and use the slipstream to the inside, pushes him as far to the left as right as possible. As the Red Bull goes to the inside, he'll turn to the outside for turn 2, but he'll get the ultimate run through there into turn 3. Can the Alpine respond, or is it too little, too late, considering the tyre deficit? Walker gets a bit of a back end loss there through turn 3. Into turn 4 we go. The Ferrari tries to make the move on Alpine, but cannot quite do it. The Red Bull of Epic OJ has taken P3, but is now going to give him a little bit more time, because Nello Safu hasn't been able to get by in a chance to try and get that final podium spot. Archer lost the back end there, but he is absolutely hounding down the guys in front of him. Can he use that pace to get by the Ferrari, the Alpine, and the Red Bull? He's absolutely on a charge. We now go down through sector 3 as Epic OJ starts to fire off into the distance. A 15-second gap though to V10 Leo and AMS Knight. Can't quite do anything. Nello Safu is basically pushing the Alpine through the penultimate corner, and now going through the final corner. He is right up the gearbox, but goes a bit wide. That will ultimately cost him time. He might even get a warning from that. From the stewards. Can the Ferrari get by? He's going to look to the outside once more. He's going to send it right round the outside on the Alpine. Can he make the move stick? They're going to touch wheels on the inside. A bit of a cut of the corner left from the Ferrari, but that was due to a contact. He's going to continue on around the outside of turn 3. The Alpine looks to try and defend, but Walker does defend. That is an excellent defense. A bit of wheel banging in the middle, but through turn 3 he manages to just about get the run. Here comes Archer, who tries to get by Nello Safu for P5, and at the moment the Ferrari cannot do anything about Walker. He has struggled time and time again to get by the Alpine, but there is literally nothing he can do against the driver, who is on significantly older tyres. As we go through towards turn 10, can Archer look to the inside to make a move himself? He has been had a very good race. Here comes Brown as well. He's also on the back of this train now, but he has a time penalty to contend with, so that could ultimately cost him. I'm not sure if he has. Yeah, he has a 3 seconds, so that's fine. So he might not lose out too much in the long term of things. Nelu Safu does a move into the penultimate corner, does take the position finally, but can the Alpine try and get back by? He's going to have a bit too far of a gap. Nelu Safu's probably going to be prepared for that, because he's now going to use his ERS, but E. Walker, I think, has used too much of his ERS. He's going to go to the inside. He's going to send it up the inside of the Ferrari. He almost made the move stick, but Archer is going to try and make the move on a very vulnerable E. Walker. On those tyres are not looking the most happy, but Archer is absolutely on him. He tried to make the move after E. Walker tried to make attack back at Nelu Safu, but he couldn't quite do so. These two are going to continue fighting alongside the Williams of Brown, who is on a charge himself. Sausage Joe in P8 as well. He's closing in on this field, but at the moment it is all firing off. Brown to the inside for turn 8. Contact there, and more contact between the two, and that after a race, a lot of the race where these two have been fighting, the contact might have ultimately cost them both position, top 5 position. And maybe even more, because that has ultimately gave E. Walker a little bit of breathing space, a bit of time to prepare for the very next straight, which he really has not had since Epic OJ and Nelu Safu caught up to him. At the moment, the back end of the Alpine goes, and that's going to allow the Haas through, potentially let the Williams through. Archer up to P5. Can Brand get by E. Walker? E. Walker through the final corner in P6. His back end is absolutely everywhere right now. As we now go down towards turn 1, can the Williams try and get by? No, he can't. He has to deal with Sausage Joe as well behind him, who's in P8. He's looking to also get by. That 3 second time penalty for Brand could become ever more costly if he can't. He's going to go round the outside of the Alpine, who looks to have less and less grip every single time we go through that corner. We go round the outside of turn 4. Can Brand get by the Alpine? E. Walker defends hard. Bit of contact, bit more contact. They both go off. I said they both luckily stay out of the wall, but that's allowed Sausage Joe to get through to P6. Joe has done just done enough to get by and maybe stay avoiding the two behind him now, who are now behind him. But is that all she wrote? Because at the moment Brand is going to be all over Joe. The RB is going to have an attack from the Williams. E. Walker has dropped down to P9 now as Raven West has gone by. As at the moment the Alpine is starting to lose a significant pace here, because that tyre deficit is going to become quite costly. There's been a 3 second time penalty, and there's a VSC that is for the Bard Tsunami, who's crashed on pit entry, and that leads to a VSC. A bit of calm, a bit of opportunity for these drivers to just to recharge their batteries and just give themselves a moment of calm before we go into the final 5 laps of the race. But this is certainly not over. However, something that is certainly not over is the battle for the race win. We really have not looked at this for the majority of the race. These two have been sitting right up and close to each other these last couple of laps. It's been all hectic further down the field. These guys have managed to keep it relatively clean. And we'll see whether Leo can get by Knight and make it 3 different winners in 3 races, or whether Knight can extend his championship lead over every single driver. You now just got to wait as the batteries get recharged. These drivers are literally ready to go at any single moment. With a lot of the driver, with 4 drivers now out the race, we still have 15 drivers looking to come home with points. At the moment, we now go green racing again. Leo, Knight, battle for the lead. Final 5 or 6 laps of the race, as we now go down towards the final corner to start lap 29 of 33. AMS Knight leads the way. We'll have a slipstream off the Red Bull of WL9317, and who they have now lapped. But at this stage, Can Leo try and get by? Knight looks to have pushed his tyres again like he did in the first stint. A bit too hard, because now it has allowed Leo to catch right back to him. But this time, Leo has an opportunity to try and make the move. V10 Leo has an opportunity to take his first win of the season, the second win of the season for Ferrari. And at this stage, it is going to pick off. How the Scuderia is going to run out of time quicker and quicker. Knight has a time on his side in some sort of comparison. As the laps go down, he hasn't got 33 laps to do anymore. He only has 4.5. As we go down towards the end of turn 10, Leo is going to try and make the move. He hasn't got DRS at all for this race. He hasn't had it this whole race. He hasn't got it now, so he's going to have to do it via either Knight making a mistake or him having the better run, the better speed. And can Leo do so? We're going to go through the penultimate corner. Knight looks to have just over 3/10 gap at this stage, but is that going to be enough? Leo is going to put him under pressure. They're both going to be using the ERS down this straight, but at this moment it looks like he cannot quite do enough. Rio Harris is going very slowly at the penultimate corner. Not exactly sure what has happened to the Alpine there, but we're now going to go through turn 3 up towards turn 4, as we now see the next few corners become more and more crucial. Every corner becomes crucial for Leo, even more by the corner, because Leo is running out of time with just under 4 laps to go now. Knight looks to just about have enough of an edge in terms of speed to manage to defend. We're going to go through turn 9 now, down towards turn 10. The Ferrari sits right on the back of the Sauber, and this would be a lot easier for Leo if he just had that DRS, because at the moment it is looking to be a very, very difficult track to overtake if you're so similarly matched to your rivals. What have you missed, Paul Diver? Oh, well, you've missed a lot. We've seen these two here, our 2 race leaders, have kind of had a bit of back and forth in terms of tyre strategy in some way, shape or form. Leo did pit a lap earlier, but at the end of each stint, on the first and second stint, he has closed that gap to Knight and has made Knight's life a very difficult race to contend with. We've seen a collision between E-Walker, Epic OJ and Nelu Safu. E-Walker was on tyres that were he had on since the start of this race. This battle, the whole race between the 2 leaders, it was a couple second gap early on, but then V10 Leo has caught back up. E-Walker came through the field to fight Epic at one point, and then did not pit, and Epic OJ and Nelu Safu caught him when they were on the fresher compound of tyres, and that ultimately led in collision when they went 3 wide through turn 9. But that and there's been a lot of overtakes and a lot of battles throughout the field. It's there's a lot to go through. I'd suggest giving this race a little bit of a watch back if you've missed any point in it. We're going to go through towards the end of lap 31 of 33. Can Knight continue to do what he's been doing this whole race, just managing to stay ahead of Leo? Leo just can't quite do anything. Knight looks to just have the pace despite the tyres fading faster and faster by the lap. But Leo, maybe in that dirty air, is ultimately costing his tyres even more. We go through turn 4, down towards turn 5. Leo just sitting at that gap. It's a little bit closer than it has been on the last lap here. 4/10 is the gap. He is pushing that car to the absolute limit, because here comes the Ferrari as we go through turn 7 into turn 8 and up until turn 9. Leo does It's just trying. You can see it with the oversteer, with the back end loss on the exit of corners. Leo is trying and trying too hard. We see actually a battle between Sausage Joe and Archer and Sausage Joe as we cut to it, as it ultimately ended in them two colliding now. So a collision with Archer and Brown cost them position to Sausage Joe, and then with Archer and E Walker has cost them position. A collision between Archer and Sausage Joe has cost them position to Bran as well. Bran, who has a time penalty, will ultimately drop behind the two. But if the two behind him start fighting even more, Bran could ultimately end up with a P5 position. We are on the final lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. With Knight leading Leo. Leo closer than he has ever been. He's just dipped under 4/10 of a second, but he's gone very, very wide through turn 3, gone off circuit, and that has ultimately cost him, because at the moment Knight, with a now 3/4 of a second gap, is looking to get more comfortable. Every corner is crucial, every traction zone is crucial, because there is now no opportunity for mistakes. Leo made an error in turn 3, and that could have ultimately cost him the opportunity to have any sort of chance at Knight on this final lap. We're going to go down towards sector 3. And can Knight keep hold of it? 7/10 gap. Just a couple corners left to go. Through turn 10. Turn 11 is included in that point as well. Through turn 12. Up towards turn 13. It is just 2 corners to go. Half a second between the two. But Knight looks to have this one covered. Through the penultimate corner. And through the final corner. It is AMS Knight, our pole sitter, converting it to race victory. Championship lead extended. AMS Knight wins the race ahead of V10 Leo. Back down to third, we see Epic OJ coming home to finish in P3 ahead of Nello Safu. These two have been relatively close the whole race. A bit of contact between them had left it a bit sour taste in both mouths. Bran comes home P5 on track, but drops to P7 after Sausage Joe and Archer get by due to his penalty, and that is the top 7 with Adam now just about having to defend. Here comes Raven West. He's going to try and get the move done. Adam keeps P8 ahead of Raven West by 700th of a second for P9. And now P10 for Why So Slow. Blazer 11th. YT Alpha Heated will come home 12th ahead of Million Ski. And then Rio Harris in P14 and WL9317 will finish in P15. E Walker P16. Bard Tsunami 17th, Crossfire Strikes 18th, and JB395 19th. Those bottom 4 have retired from the race. But that is our race. AMS Knight took victory once more. Spanish Grand Prix is his, and a championship lead that is extended. Can I see pen? Yeah, it was it was a very good race to watch and commentate. It is a solid race. There's enough going on up and down the field at various points to matter. He did early on think Knight had this one, and yes he did, but it certainly went on with a fight. Here we see now AMS Knight taking victory ahead and taking the top step of the podium. Can I see pen? You can see the penalties and the race director as well. I'll get them all through. I'll go through the race results as well, and I'll go through quick race director if I can as well, so you can see both ends. We'll go back to this. There we go. We've got AMS Knight taking victory at the V10 Leo, Epic OJP 3, and here is the rest of the grid. There we go. Just wait for that to switch back. There you go. We'll go to this. We'll go. Is all our warnings and penalties. You got a lot of penalties here. I'll quickly scroll to the bottom. If you can find it, good luck. Yeah, there you go. Just about got all of them in. So you might, if you do need the race director, and for any particular reason, there it's in there. You just will have to slow down the stream. But AMS Knight took victory here today ahead of V10 Leo. Leo will be a bit disappointed. Despite getting P2, will be disappointed that he could not quite get that race victory in the wet conditions. However, I'm going to end it there. Thank you. Did I expect this result? From qualifying, I expected Knight to win, but at the same time, it was, and especially early on when he took that, like a bit of a lead, it looked like he had it cemented. But then Leo did come back at him throughout the second half of the first stint, and then again in the latter half of the part of the race. But it just wasn't enough. Couple of drivers I certainly did not expect to be where they were, but overall the results can look somewhat predictable, but at the same time, they're some drivers did excellent to find their way through the field, and some of them had an excellent bit of racecraft as well. There's a couple of battles in there that were probably some of the best I've seen in the last couple of years, so we'll see whether so it'd probably be one of the there's a battle between an Alpine and Mercedes at one point. It was E-Walker and no, it might have been Rio, but one of the Alpines and one of the Mercedes, they had a battle in the first stint, and that was some excellent racing. There's been some excellent racing. There's been a bit of a couple of collisions, but they were kind of, like they could have been racing incidents. So it is what it is. And due to intermediate conditions, it probably meant the lower grip as well. So yeah. Why am I not racing X5? I just don't have the time, and I had my time league racing. I've had my fun. I probably do one every now and again in like a league that I used to race in, but I don't really race full time anymore. I've got a couple of things to commentate over and don't really have the time to do it consistently anymore. But I enjoy commentary probably much more because it means it's a lot less stress and a lot less frustrating. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Congratulations on our podium sitters and our race winner and championship leader Amos Knight. Congratulations to everyone who was racing today. It was an excellent race. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for I actually don't know, Spa, I think it is. No, Singapore, sorry. We got Spa on the calendar. Oh, there it is. Singapore for round 4. Then we go to Austria for sprint racing round 5, Imola round 6, Belgium round 7, break week. Then in for round 8 in Japan, round 9 is the second and last sprint of the season in Netherlands, with round 10 in Vegas. 11 will be Brazil, and Abu Dhabi will round off the season and season 9 of EXA Division 2. With that in mind, thank you all for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and I'll hopefully be here. I should be, and we'll get another excellent race of Division 2.